Hello and welcome to another edition of the C Squared Podcast. Your host Curtis with my co-host Aaliyah, and we are here today with Shane, who is from They Watch Us from the Moon, which is a very interesting band with a very interesting image. They are going to be releasing a new album, hopefully next year at some point. So we thought we'd have him on, and he's going to discuss their various projects that they do and all sorts of stuff. So before we begin, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Shane, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You are very welcome. And with that, we are going to get Aaliyah to start with the proceedings.
Cool.
Watch me unmute myself. That helps when I'm talking. So Shane, before we dive in, could you just give people a really brief summary of who you are and what you do in the realms of heavy music?
Well, I go by Shane 13, and this will be my third decade of playing heavy music, over 3 decades actually. I just turned 50, and I played all through my teens and 30s in like touring thrash metal bands, and took a time off for my kid and all that stuff, and I just came back to music a few years ago and had this crazy idea to start this band. And I'm not sure if people have heard the name yet, but we're hoping that changes here in the near future.
Oh, I have a question. I don't think I've ever asked you this before. How did you guys come up with your names for the band members?
It kind of runs on a personality thing, you know. We have a new member. We're got a new bass player, and the dude comes with the most comic book hero rock and roll name ever. And I was talking to him last night. I was like, I don't think we got to change your name. And his name is Rain Charger.
That's his
perfect.
real name?
It's his real name.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Keep your name.
Well, before we dive too far into this, maybe we could talk about like what's the concept behind your band, right? So you have characters, you have stage names, personas and stuff. Talk to us a little bit about the concept behind the band.
The concept is I'm big into alien conspiracies and Planet X and all that kind of stuff. So I needed a place to put all these wacky ideas. But the idea of the concept or the premise of the band is that we were a rock and roll band that got like I said, a doom metal band that got a gig playing at the base of the pyramids in Giza, right?
Wow, nice.
And our sonic resonance somehow activated this ancient technology that exists inside the pyramids, and signaled an evil alien that hides on the moon, and he was able to kidnap us through this transportation device, and up to the moon we go. And I won't spoil the whole thing, but we come to be entertainers in the court of the Emperor of the Moon and all the crazy
That
things.
just sounds epic in and of itself.
Yeah.
Entertainers in the court of the Emperor of the Moon.
So
Yeah.
I have a quick follow-up question to this, just because I think like this. So how much of the alien stuff do you believe and how much do you not believe?
I believe in a lot of it, man.
Cool.
I've had wild experiences.
Cool. Cool.
I've had a couple of UFO sightings. I've had a missing time experience that was
So you're not taking the piss out of it. That's what I wanted to clarify.
no. You know, if you go back, there's a character named Zacharias Sitchin who is a archaeologist of sorts, and he dug up these scrolls from ancient Samaria, and they depict the origins of man, which
Nice.
are these people called the Anunnaki from a different planet in our solar system that exists out there on a far elliptical orbit. And the Sumerians wrote down this history that's how human beings got to be human beings was they created us in their image. And
Cool.
it's crazy history, man. I'm trying to tie in crazy history, conspiracy theory, comic books, and doom metal.
Interesting.
A
So,
crazy recipe.
okay, I'm not going to follow up right now. I'll keep us on track here. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about UFO conspiracies for the next 30
Yeah,
minutes.
let's not, well, I mean, that's for another podcast, maybe.
Podcast on that altogether.
Sure.
Yeah. But let's talk about, it does sound like it's really perfect for this whole comic book setup. So you're working with
His name is Rick Laura.
awesome.
Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah, to create these comic books.
Yeah.
And there's a series.
Yeah, we're just about we did a test run of this idea a couple of years ago, like right before COVID happened, and I was like, I just want to see what happens. Let's just do something. I had another guy involved in it. It got too much for him. He ducked out. Found Rick, and we're doing this reboot. And the new art is way dark. If anybody's seen the cover of our single that we put out just last December, it's that kind of dark gray and black art, and we're kind of trying to go a little darker with the imagery, really connotate the idea of aliens is really terrifying, so that's what we're going for.
Yeah, you want to go with the horror element versus the whimsical
Right.
idea.
Exactly.
So, kind of as a bit of a follow-up to that, so how does a band that is relatively unknown go about having the balls to even do a comic book? Because that's pretty ballsy, because that's like Kiss level.
I have a lot of energy.
I could tell.
I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in my head, and it's got to have a place to go, and my sole purpose as a human being over the last several years has been raising my kid, and he's about ready to graduate high school and teeter off into the world, and I got to have something to do.
Fair.
He's been fairly independent for a while, and now I'm in this creative explosion. We all are. The whole band is right now having a creative explosion. But I don't know, man. It's got to go somewhere.
Fair enough. Just curious. Okay, I'll let you take back over.
And it really has gone somewhere into this music. And then you have, the costumes that you wear on stage and your characters. And can you just talk about how that kind of crystallized and became reality? Like, which steps did you go through first? Which vision did you plot out goals? Like, how did you accomplish everything?
Well, first came the name. We were kind of like we were a garage band, just hanging out, dads doing dad stuff, playing music, and we're like, hey, this is kind of good. Wow. And the name came about. We were going by a different name, and I wrote like all these names on a piece of paper, and I was like, this is what we should call our EP. What do you guys think of these listed names? And They Watch Us from the Moon was on there, and everybody's like, oh, we should call it that. I'm like, everybody loves that name? Really? Oh, wow. I figured they'd be like, dumb, whatever. And I was like, that's what we should call the band. And that's how we got the band name. But it just kind of developed into sitting around. I mean, I don't know if I can say it or not. I'm going to say it because it's the truth. We're sitting around getting stoned. Like, hey, it'd be fun if we were a science fiction doom metal band. And it was like, we should wear costumes. And it just happened. And I was doing costuming stuff and cosplay with my kid when he was growing up, because we're Star Wars nerds. And he, as a little kid, he wanted to go to conventions in costume. So it just kind of like snowballed into
Developing a whole new skill set.
yeah. And now we're making costumes and running around with laser guns, and
I did get Star Wars vibes for sure.
Same.
Oh yeah, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica. Gosh, it's all that stuff ate up my youth.
So
Yeah.
I kind of was wondering, and I hopefully you don't take this offensive in any way, shape, or form, because I like the band's image. But how are you going to separate yourself from being like a Gore type thing in the future? Or do you care? Do you want to be like that type of thing where it's like that's the main focus?
I'll take Gore money.
Fair.
I'm
Fair.
I'm
Fair.
good with that.
Fair.
I mean, really, I mean, I've talked to the band about this. At some point, I'd stop marketing it like a rock band and start marketing it like a theatrical troupe.
So you want to do that? Okay.
I mean, my ultimate vision is it's a live action comic book that follows the narrative of the comic book that it actually exists. You know.
Okay.
I'm open to all kinds of ideas. It wouldn't bother me to. This is what I did for a living full time. You know,
No kidding.
I'd take Gore money.
So you're down with that? Okay.
And the funny thing is, I mean, I come from hardcore scene. Like I was a punk rock kid in the '80s, right?
Yeah.
Into the hardcore thing, and then into metal and metalcore and all that. And I've got friends of mine from the hardcore scene that are pissed off at me for doing this. It's like, what are you
Sure.
costumes for, man? What? Come on, like, dude, lighten up, man. I mean,
Okay.
there's bands like Yob and like other doom bands that wear cloaks and cowls and stuff like that. So it's not far off the mark, you know.
And I mean, I guess if you want to be perceived in that way, that it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, people kind of get goofy on it too until they see us live or they hear the music and they're like,
Yep.
"Oh, it's opera." I'm like, yeah, it's opera.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns at first when we started working with you, rather, was the image, because I was like, well, are they going to be looked upon as like a Gore clone before anybody can actually listen to them? But I think you kind of explained, like, you don't really mind, and it's like the theater is the primary focus, but you also want to have high quality songs, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, Dave Brockie was a buddy of mine back in the day. You know, I
Cool.
mean, one of my first experiences was opening up for Gore. You know, they used to come around to shows all the time, and I find a lot of honor in that, to
Cool.
be lumped in that crowd.
Cool.
But then it's funny because we're kind of getting we've had critical acclaim by several different critics in the doom scene, and that's awesome. You know, I love that. That's what we started calling it doom opera. You know, that's the way I describe it anyway. People say different things, but
Makes sense. Well, as long as as long as you keep the self-awareness there and you know what you're going for, I mean, it should work.
yeah, I mean, so far working. I mean, people look like, what is this? And then
I know we had a few things with the single last year, and like, wow, this is actually really good stuff. It's like, yep.
Yep.
But anyways, so we're kind of straying a little bit off the path. Aaliyah, bring us back.
I kind of want to talk about your South by Southwest showcase show that's coming up early next year. Can you explain what that is?
Well, we are playing the Gravitoid Heavy Music Festival showcase that happens at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin. March 14th is our slot at Kick Butt Coffee is the name of the venue. So how South by Southwest works is like there's the big formal venue shows and conferences and all that stuff, which is crazy stuff all to go to. There's all kinds of industry and so on and so forth there. But then what happens is Austin turns into the rest of the festival. So just tens and thousands of people dump into Austin, and every venue in town offers a showcase for people to go and check out new bands and up and coming artists and things like that. So we got lucky and scored one of those with Gravitoid Heavy Music, which is a network opportunity.
Yeah, how did you come across that, connect with the right people? Because you guys are in Kansas, so.
We're in Kansas. Doom Charts. He's a Doom Chart contributor. That organization's contributor to Doom Charts, and we get a lot of love over there. We're excited to release this new record because of that. So we got a lot of people looking out for us right now, specifically from the Doom Charts, Doomed and Stoned folks, and they're showing us a lot of love, and we're doing what we can.
They're
So
obsessed.
if you had to, oh, go ahead, Curtis.
I was just gonna comment. They're all obsessed. Everybody we sent the fucking song to last year just like loved it.
Yeah, the cool thing is we haven't heard the good shit yet.
Now you're setting yourself up. Now
Setting the bar high.
Yeah.
I plan on it. I'm braggadocious all the way. I believe in what we're doing.
Cool.
I really do.
That's awesome.
We started working with and I'll explain why I feel that way. So we got signed to New Heavy Sounds, which is out of the United Kingdom, and it's run by a couple of the guys that currently blowing up Mammoth Weed Wizard Bastard, which is humongous in Europe. But that label is run by Jed Murphy and Paul Cox, and Paul Cox is responsible for people like Stereolab, PJ Harvey, iconic musicians and people within the greater scene that have made forever marks, and we're extremely fortunate and lucky to be aligned with somebody like that, and they believe in us, and we're gonna let them do their thing. We just issued them a couple of radio edits for some of our songs because I think they got some catch, so we're gonna see what happens.
So if you wanted to, I guess, offer some tips, because we're a music business podcast, right? Most of the people who listen to us, a lot of them are fellow musicians. And so if you say that you learned like 2 or 3 tips from the experiences recently in this last chapter for your band, where you're getting this gig at South by Southwest or in the city during South by Southwest and getting signed to a record label, what are some of your top tips for musicians, like how to achieve that kind of goal?
When your band is in downtime, whether that's creative time or you're waiting for production to come back or you're waiting for art to come back, whatever it is that's causing you downtime, always be networking. Always be networking. And then when you are not in downtime and you're in go time and things are really happening, you should also be networking all the time. Always connect your dots. That's the biggest tip I can give people. And it's one of the easiest things to do, talk to people, go places, do things, introduce yourself when you're there. Wallflowers don't dance. If you want to dance, you got to get out on the dance floor. And that's kind of what I do.
I agree.
Mic drop.
So Aaliyah, we got about 10 more minutes left. Do we want to take over? Do we want to talk to him about the strain thing?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Take the stage, Curtis.
Well, we all know how much I love weed. I don't. I'm not a smoker at all. I don't smoke weed. Aaliyah doesn't smoke weed, but I do want to talk about this for a minute. I'm prefacing myself just in case anybody thinks that I've switched. So you guys have gotten into the weed business apparently. So can you kind of go over that a little bit?
Yeah, we're about ready to launch. Well, it'll be probably middle of 2023. We're going to launch our own strain of cannabis. It'll be called They Watch Us from the Moon. I'm working with a scientist, a botanist from a company called Traditional Seed Company that is out of Missouri. Legal operations in Missouri, and what we're going to do is offer seeds for mail order for folks that are able to get those kinds of things. And we've kind of tiptoed into the marketing a little bit, but we'll start really jamming on it here pretty soon. But we're asking people, start asking for it at your local shops. So when we call them, they want orders. So that's what we're doing. It's the wave of the future.
So I got a couple questions on this, and forgive me for being naive on these things, because again, I don't have anything to do with it. So number one, I know it's not completely legal in the United States unless something has changed that I'm unaware of. So how expensive was it for you to kind of like make sure you guys were in the legal end of things? Because like my understanding is if you get busted for selling seeds to the wrong state.
We're going through this company called Traditional Seed Company,
Yeah.
which is licensed and registered as a legal operation in Missouri, which is currently medical, but it's flipping to recreational in February.
Oh, I get it.
But as it is, as long as it's coming from a legal operation, you can sell it to other legal operations across the planet in seed form.
I get it.
It arrives at the grow operation behind the dispensary or whatever the dispensary uses for grow operations. And they, it's like 31 flavors. Since you've never been to a dispensary, you won't know, but there's bajillions of strains that do different things.
Sure.
And what we're trying to do is capture the psychedelic couch lock market, which you don't know what that means.
I have no idea what that means. No.
There's
Me
people in
neither.
your listenership who'd be like, "Oh, cool," they know it's coming. So,
What is it called? Psychedelic cow? What?
well, what we're going for is a heavy duty, what's called couch lock.
Oh, couch. I thought you said cow lock. Okay.
Couch.
Couch.
I
Okay.
heard couch.
I heard cow. Okay.
They say divan in Canada. Divan lock. I don't know. Duvet. No.
That's France.
Okay. Well,
Psychedelic couch lock is what it's called?
Well, that's just kind of what the feel we're going for the strain. We want something very psychoactive that kind of, lets you know what you're dealing with.
Oh, I see what it is. I just Googled it. I sort of get it now. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I get it. Okay. Now that I've been cleared up on my stoner terms. So to clarify, okay, so now how is this going to benefit the band? Like, how are you going to tie it into the band, I guess is what I want to know.
Well, it's just part of our branding, part of our marketing scheme. We want stoners of all genres to know that we're doing this, and we feel we have a really wide appeal. We're trying to reach a larger market of demographics through cannabis. Cannabis is its own culture. Cannabis is its own economy, its own marketing patterns and things of that nature. And we're trying to capture, part of that industry that matters to the thing that we're doing, which is creating psychedelic sci-fi stoner rock.
So I have a question. So just in terms of the marketing, and again, pardon me if this is stupid, because I'm just trying to see how it all fits together. So I get the name is going on the seeds or whatever it is, however it is you guys are selling it. How do you get people to know that you're a band? Is there like something on the product?
Yeah, we're gonna have information. We'll probably put a link, or there'll be information within the packaging to take you right to music sites, whatever we're doing. It'll all be linked in.
Okay.
And we started to do some outreach on our Instagram and things of that nature as well, to let people know this is part of our branding as well. And then we'll come out with new merch in the spring, and we're gonna have grinders and one hitters and
You guys got the whole thing going. Holy crap. That's interesting. Okay, Aaliyah, do we have any more questions on the weed angle here? I think the only okay, so my final question on that before we get to our final questions is, are you worried about getting stereotyped due to that? Because I know some bands kind of make that into their thing.
I'm not worried about it, man. I mean, at this point in time in history, it's all subgenre this and subgenre that.
Yeah.
I mean, look how horrible it is to be clutch pigeonholed like that.
Yeah.
They sell out rooms all over the flipping planet. And Gore, pigeonhole them.
Yeah.
Who cares? Pigeonhole me all you want.
Fair. Just curious.
I
You have a goal. You know what you want, I guess. So that's.
I want to play music worldwide.
Yeah.
And I think cannabis legalization and those issues that come with it are important for the planet. Cannabis, look into it. Cannabis will save the planet. Promise.
Cool. Awesome. So Leah, what do we want to wrap up with for some final questions, I guess?
That is all we had on the list.
Okay, we can do a couple goofy ones if you want before we wrap up. So
sure.
What's the favorite stoner snack for They Watch Us from the Moon?
Oh, I can only speak for myself. I don't know. I mean,
I want to know what the Moon Emperor eats.
Let's hear what the Moon Emperor eats.
Boy, that's deep. I don't know yet. We'll have to get into a storyline on that at some point.
Okay.
Then
we'll stick with you for now.
What is the Shane's go-to snack for when he's baked?
I'm a diabetic, so everything I have to do is sugar-free or
Fair.
keto and all that. But you get keto ice cream, and
I don't know what that is.
It's a low calorie, low carb, no sugar ice cream.
Wow.
And I like making shakes, like banana peanut butter shakes with keto ice cream and almond milk. So there's not very much sugar, any of that jive in it. That's my favorite.
Fair. Cool. So now I got to ask the stereotypical question: Star Trek or Star Wars, and why?
Star Wars. I love both, but Star Wars all the way. I was a 5-year-old kid in '77 when the movie came out, and my mom says I was standing in the seat, and when that big giant cruiser comes over the top of the screen, my mom said my jaw dropped. I didn't say a word for 2 hours, and I've been like that about Star Wars my entire life.
Nice. Okay. Anything? Any other type of sci-fi movies that you would recommend to these stoner people out there?
Oh my, Stargate.
Fuck is Stargate?
Oh, it was a movie about, again, pyramids in Egypt, and they uncover a Stargate in Egypt that takes them to other planets.
It always goes back to Egypt.
It does. I'm telling you, there's a lot of weird stuff connected to conspiracy land about Stargates and the Middle East and Babylon, but that's my favorite tie-in sci-fi conspiracy nut movie is Stargate.
Conspiracy nut movie. Okay. What else do we want to
I
ask?
have a question. You said you've had a lot of experiences, I should say. So we have just a few minutes left. Maybe you could pick your most interesting story or one that you'd be open to sharing
Sure.
on the podcast.
So, all right, one time, this was years ago, and I was in a band called Truth Cell, which is on Spotify, and me and the bass player were going down to my dad's house to fix our van before a tour. We just like tune up the van. The old man's got every tool on the planet, and he lived out in the country on a lake, and we fixed up the van, got the tune up done. Nighttime came, and this is out by Wichita, Kansas, which is a big giant Air Force base. And we're out on the dock at the end of the evening smoking weed, and my bass player, his name was Sean, points up in the air, and he's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "What is that?" And there's this like crazy light going back and forth in the sky, and we're like, "Holy crap!" And it was like 3-4 miles off, but it was hauling ass. And we realized after a minute there were F-14s everywhere, on top, flying next to it, around it. They were like ushering it out of airspace, is what it looked like to me. And they were in a hot scramble to do it. And this thing got close, like 50 feet over top of the forest canopy,
Wow.
And it was jet black, no shadow, no feature, no nothing. And it was a big giant rectangle thing, and it just had that light boop, in the front of it. It was like a blue, white, bluish light that just went back in this U-shaped pattern thing, and it passed right over the top of us. And he and I looked at each other and was like, "Where's that joint?" I mean, what could you? There was no comprehending or talking about it or explaining. It was like, did that really happen? Maybe we should.
Yeah, like what did we just see?
And
Wild.
That's one of the experiences I've had in my life. It was just bizarre. I couldn't believe it was that close. I'd seen other things in the sky, but not like right there, you know.
Cool. I have a final question, unless Aaliyah has a final question. Okay. So what would be a book on UFOs or an author on UFOs you would recommend that people read, assuming you're into UFO books? Because the only person I've ever read, just as an aside, is Whitley Strieber, however you say it.
Yeah. My favorite UFO book is a book called Above Black, and if you can find it in print, get me a copy too.
What's it called? The Boat Block?
Above
Black. Okay.
Black, which is a
Yeah, I
reference.
know you Canadians say about reader.
We do.
It's about an Air Force officer who is it's a true story. Supposedly true story. It's about an Air Force officer that was a part of a special program. He doesn't know exactly what he's doing for the first couple of years that he's doing it, but he figures out that he is being trained to telepathically communicate with aliens. And I won't get all into it. It's my favorite sci-fi book. The most terrifying thing about it, and this does not give away the plot at all, the most terrifying thing about it to me was they don't call us humans. They don't call us animals or cockroaches or anything. The aliens refer to us as water vessels.
Water vessels, interesting.
Yeah.
So,
the easiest way to move an ocean, if you got it to walk wherever it is you want it to go.
To clarify, now you said it was sci-fi, so it's not. So it's fiction. It's not.
Well, it claims to be nonfiction, but as far as like alien books go, that's my favorite. That always comes to mind. I guess I skipped over the fiction part, but
yeah, because I was trying to understand. I was like, is this fiction or is this nonfiction? Okay.
It's supposed to be nonfiction, but you know, who knows? Yeah. But that's my favorite alien UFO book.
Cool. Aaliyah, did you want to ask another question?
This is the question I like to ask everyone. McDonald's or Wendy's? It's very basic, but I'm always curious.
Golly. I'm a sucker for the McRib, so it's got to be McDonald's.
McRib exists still?
This is the last
McRib.
Run, apparently.
It's you they're making it for.
It's the last run.
Oh, okay. I don't think they have that up here. So, but
they come out. They come out
supposedly the farewell tour.
Yeah. I'm up 6 for the season.
All right. Nice. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I think we covered a lot of good information, and I know my video is glitching out, but I hope my audio is okay to tell y'all. Until next time, make like a bull and throw those horns up.
Thank you for having me.